Hi, and welcome to Unpacking the Past with Sophie. I'm your host Sophie. So, today I thought since today is Halloween, why not make a Halloween special? Let's find out what's the real reason behind pumpkin carving on Halloween. And what does Satan have anything to do with it? Well, that's what we are going to figure out in this video. So without any further ado, let the video begin. The carving of vegetables has been a common practice in many parts of the world. It's believed that the custom of making jack-o'-lanterns at Halloween time began in Ireland and Britain. In the 19th century, turnips or mangel-wurzels, hollowed out to act as lanterns and often carved with grotesque faces, were used on Halloween in parts of England, Ireland, Wales and Scotland. In the Gaelic-speaking regions, Halloween was also the festival of Samhain and was seen as a time when supernatural beings were walking the earth. Meanwhile in Wales, such nights were known as Ysbrydnasa or Spirit Nights, with Calan Gaeaf being the one which occurred on the night of October 31st. Jack-o'-lanterns were also made at Halloween time in Somerset, England, to see Punky Night, during the 19th century. By those who made them, the lanterns were said to represent either the spirits or the supernatural beings, or they were used to ward off evil spirits. Sometimes they were used by Halloween participants to frighten people, and sometimes they were set on windowsills to keep harmful spirits out of one's home. It's also been suggested that the jack-o'-lanterns originally represented Christian souls in purgatory, as Halloween is the eve of All Saints' Day, November 1st, or All Souls' Day, November 2nd. On January 16, 1836, the Dublin Penny Journal published a long story about the legend of jack-o'-lantern, although this doesn't mention if the lantern was carved from a vegetable. In 1837, the Limerick Chronicle refers to a local pub holding a carved gourd competition and presenting a prize to the best crown of Jack McLantern. And the term McLantern does also appear in an 1841 publication of the same paper. However, there is also evidence that turnips were used to carve what was called a Hobart's lantern in Worcestershire, England, at the end of the 18th century. The folklorist Jabez Allies outlines other derivations of the name, Hobanese, which is most likely derived from Hob and his, with other variations, which includes Hob-a-lantern, Hobdy's lantern, and Hobbity lantern. While in the US and Canada, the carved pumpkin was first associated with the harvest season in general before it became a symbol of Halloween. In 1895, there was an article on Thanksgiving Entertaining recommending giving a lit jack-o'-lantern as a child's prize in Thanksgiving games. A poet named John Greenleaf Whittier, who was born in Massachusetts in 1807. He had written the poem The Pumpkin, 1850, which however only mentions Thanksgiving, but not Halloween. The carved pumpkin lanterns are associated with Halloween and recorded on November 1, 1866, edition of the Daily News. While in the 1879's Funny Nursery Rhymes, a poem admonishes children to avoid being similar to the untrusty Master Jack-o'-lantern, to which is described as a wicked, deceiving boy, which is also similar to a will-o'-the-wisp who either dances and jumps and even gambles. He's even humorously illustrated as a personification of a lantern. The stories of jack-o'-lantern come in many different forms and are similar to the story of will-o'-the-wisp, which is retold in different forms across Western Europe, which includes Norway, Sweden, Spain, and Italy. In Switzerland, children will leave bowls of milk or cream out for the mythical house spirits called Jack-o'-the-Bull. There is also this old Irish tale from around the mid-18th century, which talks about Stingy Jack, who is a lazy yet shrewd blacksmith, who uses a cross to trap Satan. Yep, you heard right. But anyway, there is one story that says that Jack had tricked Satan into climbing an apple tree, and once he was up there, Jack quickly placed crosses around the trunk or carved a cross into the bark, so that Satan couldn't get down. While, there is also another version of the story, which says that Jack was getting chased by some villagers, whom he had stolen. There Jack then met up with Satan, who claimed it was time for him to die. However, the thief stalled his death, by tempting Satan with a chance to bedevil the church-going villagers, who were chasing Jack. Jack then told Satan to turn into a coin with which he would pay for the stolen goods. Then later on, when Satan, who at this time was a coin, had disappeared, the Christian villagers would fight over who had stolen it. So Satan agreed to this plan. He then turned himself into a silver coin and jumped into Jack's wallet, but only to find himself next to a cross that Jack had also picked up in the village. Jack closed the wallet tight, and the cross had stripped Satan of his powers. In both of these folktales, Jack had let Satan go only after he had agreed to never take his soul. While many years later, the thief had died, as all living things do. But of course, Jack's life had been too sinful for him to go to heaven. If you believe in heaven and hell. However, Satan had promised not to take his soul, and so he was barred from hell as well. Jack now had nowhere to go. He then asked how he would see where to go, as he had no light, and Satan mockingly tossed him a burning coal to light his way. Jack had carved out one of his turnips to put the coal inside. He then began to endlessly wander the earth for a resting place. And that's how he became known as Jack of the Lantern, OG Jack-o'-lantern. Jack-o'-lanterns were also a way of protecting people's homes against the undead. The superstitious people used them specifically to ward off vampires. They thought that this was because it was said that the jack-o'-lantern's light was a way of identifying vampires, who once their identity was known, would give up their hunt for you. There are sections of the pumpkin or turnip cut out to make holes, often depicting a face, which are either scary, comical, or even cheerful. Jack-o'-lanterns are typically made from Connecticut field pumpkins, which are described as the original commercial jack-o'-lantern pumpkin.